Hello, this is Mary Beth from StencilGirl Products. Today, for Mad Scientists, we are going to play with soft pastels. These are like the ones, they're like chalky, they're little chalks. And then I even have the pan pastels, which are kind of like, there's a soft pastels, they're solidified in a little container. They've got a little stabilizing agent in there, and those are really nice too. And you may or may not think that this is a good idea to use these for stencils, but I'm gonna figure it out. I am taking on the mission. So let's turn the camera and take a look at using soft pastels with our stencils. All right, I got all the things here, all the things. So I have seen some things online that suggest that you can use soft pastels with water and that you can just fix them with water. And this is not true, okay? So here's a soft pastel. I'm drawing on here with it. And I've seen stuff where people take then water on a brush and then they fix it. Now we're going to check back in with this later, but I can already tell you it's going to just wipe right off of there because that does not fix it on the paper. In order to truly fix soft pastel, you either need to use a fixative, like a spray fixative, or you need to use something like a matte medium or a white gesso. And I have used both of these products with soft pastels for years, and I've had great results. Now, I haven't really used them with stencils. So that's what I'm gonna play with today, and we'll see how that turns out, okay? So I'm gonna open my white gesso and sit it over here, and I'm gonna open, this is a thing of matte medium, and I'm gonna sit it over here. I used to teach this class there's a bunch of junk here at the top of my matte medium. So I'm going to get that off of there before we go any further. I used to teach this class called Painting Without Paint. This was before I had a stencil company. And we used to play with soft pastels and with gesso and with matte medium. And we actually created paintings with them without paint per se. But see, here's the thing. These soft pastels they are just pigment. So if you can find a way to get them to stay on your page, then that's all you need to do. So we'll put some here. See how powdery it is? That is pigment. So we're gonna get a little bit of, I'm gonna get a fresh brush for this because I don't wanna get my gesso all dirty. So I'm going to just take a tiny bit of white gesso and blend it in with the pastel powder. And this would be one way to paint, okay? And that is going to stay right where I put it because I'm using gesso, all right? Now I'm going to do this bottom pile of powder with matte medium. And it's not going to lighten it. It'll stay the same color because matte medium is clear. And again, it will stay right there, right where we put it, okay? So that's kind of all you need to know about how to use the pastels and the fact that you do need to fix them. But what I wanted to do was go into some ideas about how to actually put the pastel through a stencil. So I have this stencil, which is kind of fun. This is by Gwen LaFleur, and there's this hand on it. And I thought it might be kind of fun to see if we could, put pastel through there. So I'm going to put some pastel on my sponge. And it will go right through the holes. This is a pretty color, by the way, this pastel. And there it is. Now, you might think, well, you didn't set it with anything. And that's true, I didn't. So what you can do now is put the stencil right back down where it was and take your sponge and put a little bit of matte medium on the sponge. I got my matte medium kind of yucked up there. That's a professional term, yucked up. Okay, so now I'm going to go back then with the matte medium, which is going to tend to darken it slightly, at least until it dries. It's going to look a little darker because it's, you know, it's wet on top of this pigment. And that is now set. There's a few powdery parts on the top that I'm going to blow aside, but that is set. So that is one way to use a stencil with the soft pastel, okay? I'm interested in this very intricate stencil and in this also very intricate stencil. I thought that it would be fun to try these two and to see, you know, how they would work, because I don't know, I just feel like there might be something really beautiful. There's also some namaste hands down here. If you do yoga, you probably know what I'm talking about. But let's move this to the side. And I've got my pan pastels, and then I've got my other pastels. I've even got some metallics right here, copper, pearl, and gold. And I'm going to use those, and we'll just see how this all comes out. Let's try this guy first, and I am not going to clean the sponge yet. All right, so I'm going to just go back in there over top of the matte medium. And since this is such a tight stencil, and by that I mean a stencil where the openings are very small and they're very close together. So that's what I mean when I say a tight stencil. You can swirl your stencil brush or your sponge if that's what you're using. And wow, I can sure see that this is going to be lovely, right? Very, very nice. I'm going to pull this up to show you. This is a gorgeous stencil. Little powders got under there, so I just blew them off a tiny bit. Now, let's make sure that we're in the right place again. And what we would do is we would go over this again with the matte medium like we did before, okay? I'm going to put a little matte medium on my table here. And all you need to do is pounce it over top, okay? Now, I thought that it might be interesting to see if we could layer colors or what all we could do with this. So I'm going to get one of these brushes and see if I can find some areas here where I could add some of this gold. This is a metallic, and I just don't know. I don't know if it's going to go through the stencil and just sit on the top or not. I'm not sure. So let's take a look. Not much happened there. Okay, so we have set this with the matte medium. Let's try something different here. Let's try just coloring in with the powder around the design that we just put on. This brush is kind of dirty because I had just run it across the red a little bit, but it looks like that might work, right? You could add some gold, or You could add gold. Let's try with another sponge. You could just add gold straight to the paper like this. Okay, look at that. Then we'll put the stencil back down and we'll get some of the red and pounce over top of the gold. And that got a little messy. That got a little bit messy on there. But look what happens. And this is what I'm saying, is it doesn't fix it unless you fix it, right? You have to do something to it to fix it. I mean, you rub the powder around, but it won't actually fix it. So we would for sure need to do that if we wanted to fix it. So let's put this stencil to the side. This is a beauty. And let's try this other one. Let's use, I don't know, I've got a thing for hands today. Let's see if we can get a little bit more space here. And I'm going to start and I'm going to put some copper down. It actually looks almost like what I had going there, the copper. I'm not going to fix it yet. I'm going to put the hand on top and I'm going to turn these around so that I can reach this black one. I'm going to use the black. And I'm going to use this little thing. This is a little sponge applicator thing. You can get all sorts of supplies from the people that make pan pastels. And uh-oh, that came off the end of that. So let's be careful. This isn't going to survive the lesson here. Let's see what we can do. All right, throw that thing away. And look at how nice that looks, the black, the crispness of that hand on top of that, that copper. It's very nice, very nice, very nice. I'm going to go ahead and take this and drop it in my water so it stays clean. And then I'm going to get, this is a rubber, just a, you know, like a scraper or it's called a paint shaper. And I'm going to put some matte medium on this and see if we can just protect this like with one swipe. Moves it around a little bit. But if you were going to use this as a part, I think it would be great. You could just cut that out and use it quite nicely. You could also try it with a brayer. You could also put your matte medium on a gel plate and then press this down into the gel plate so that it fixed it quite easily. Once you fix it that first round, you could go another round if you want, if you felt that was necessary. This one we've already fixed and that isn't going anywhere. A little bit, but not much. If you were using something in your journal or even including this in another mixed media piece, I think you would be fine as you built up layers. So that's a good thing to know. What I would like to also see is if, I'm going to get a different stencil now. I'm going to get this one that has these little like posy parts over here and then leaves over here. And I'm going to try to use these. I'm going to use the leaves. I'm going to make them green or maybe a darker green. And then we'll make the little posy parts this kind of orangey color. I have no idea if I'm going to, it's not going to just color right on top of there. I'm going to have to use a sponge. So you can color, take the soft pastel and put it on the sponge and then move that around and you can get the color to come up. Then I know there's different ways to do this with the leaves and so forth. let's see how this works. Let's put some green. Let's try the green on here. It's not very dark, is it? Let's get some of that powder, because that's what we're talking about, is that pigment that we want to pop up here. And put that down. And so then you've got the posies and the green leaves. Now, once again, you're going to need to fix it with something, or else it's not going to stay there. So I'm going to wipe this off, get a little bit of my matte medium, and just do the minimal of swipes across there to get it, you know, secured onto the page. You will also find, if you go to stores and look in with the spray paint, you will find products that are spray fixatives, and those will work great for this kind of thing also. But there are other things you can do as well, and I want to show you that. So this, I did this before we started filming so that you would be able to see it really easily. This is matte medium that I just swiped across this paper, and this is absorbent ground, which is the product that's made by Golden, and it's kind of like a gesso. It's a little bit of a, it's got a little porous type feeling to it, and it is very good for grabbing stuff like our soft pastels. So you can draw right on top of it. Now, my hands are so dirty, it hardly moves at all. Check that out. It just sits right there. So this receiving surface, this absorbent ground, helps stabilize these powdered products. Now, I don't know if the matte medium will or not. I just was curious, so I thought I'd try the matte medium over there too. So there's the matte medium. Now, I got a little bit off on my finger before, but not very much, right? Look at the matte medium though. It's gonna smear quite a bit, yeah. Okay, so there's definitely something about that absorbent ground that's a very good thing. I think we can agree on that, right? Now let's see how this works with a stencil and see if it'll stabilize as well. Let's try some of this copper, because I've already got that on here. And there it does. It goes right on top of the absorbent ground. And I think it looks super nice. Let's see about it. It's smearing a little bit more than the stick is. That's an interesting thing. I would have guessed the other way around, but it is. So, interesting. Not quite as good on that. All right, let's move this to the side. And the last two that I prepared were clear gesso and white gesso. Okay, so let's try these again. This is the white gesso, and this is the clear gesso. The clear gesso's got a lot of porous to it, but it's still moving, which is very surprising to me, as well as the white gesso. Now, we already know if we use this on top, it will stabilize the powder, but just not underneath. That's disappointing, isn't it? Very, very disappointing. All right, well, let's give this another try here. Maybe we'll try it on both sides and see how this looks. I'm going to use this little sponge this time with the gold. And I think since we know that it already moved the stick pastel, I'm guessing we will find that it moves the pan pastel too, but I'm not sure. We'll have to wait and see. All right, so there it is. Now, I gotta say, I do love the effect of the clear gesso, because if you're working on black, it gives you a lot of punch for sure, and that's nice. But the pan pastel doesn't stay, and then this doesn't stay either. I got here for the white gesso, it literally feels like plastic, which acrylic is plastic, right? But I'm just surprised at how plasticky it feels. I'm also surprised at how porous this one feels. So, in conclusion, what have we learned? We have learned that if you fix any of these pastels after you've put them down, they will stay in place. They definitely will, and you will find that that is a very good way to handle the products. I'm going to grab a Kleenex here because my paper towels seem to have taken a little ride here. And look at how much this moves. This isn't even dried down yet, but it moves quite a bit. These, not at all, not in the least. This is the one that was fixed with the gesso. This is the one that was fixed with the matte medium. Or you could use the clear gesso. So that is going to be my way of addressing any of the soft pastel products. I'm going to take the pastel itself and I'm going to mix it with either a white absorbent ground or a white gesso if I want it to be lighter. And if I want it to be the same color, I'm going to mix it with either a matte medium or a clear gesso. And then I'm going to use that, pounce through the stencil. And I think that that's going to be the most reliable way to do it. Unless, of course, you want to get one of the spray fixatives. And you could just do whatever you wanted with stencils, applying them with sponges, with maybe some Q-tips, with the brushes, any way that you would love to apply it, and then that way you would fix it down with your spray fixative afterwards. So I hope that this has been a good lesson for you and you've learned lots of things about soft pastels and start to add them into your process, because I mean, a lot of us, I know we've bought them through the years and maybe don't use them as much as we should. And for me, it's nice to have a refresher and to see how they could be used in my mixed media works, in my journals, and then prepared so that they don't smear and that they are long lasting. So I hope you enjoyed this month's Mad Scientist. I look forward to seeing what you will all create. Thanks for watching.